Flying is arguably the safest way to travel today. It has the highest safety rating among any form of transportation. Driving to the airport is in fact more dangerous than flying across the country on a commercial flight. Every day, about 30,000 airline flights or 2 million people fly around our nation's skies going to different destinations. The chilly afternoon of January 15, 2009 is no different.
Northbound 3660, flying 230 or 27 left, go take off.
3027 left, go take off, 3660.
At 2:43 p.m., U.S. Airways Flight 1549 began boarding 150 passengers and 5 crew members. Most of the passengers were business representatives who were headed to Charlotte, North Carolina. There were multiple passengers aboard Flight 1549 who were regulars among this route of flight, from New York's LaGuardia International Airport to Charlotte Douglas International Airport in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ground practice 1549, spot 28 taxi, please.
Cactus 1549, taxi, Foxtrot Bravo, hold short echo.
Foxtrot Bravo, short echo, Cactus 1549.
Cactus 1549, follow northwest, you can monitor.
Cactus 1549, follow northwest, monitor tower, thank you.
Once receiving ground clearance from air traffic control, Flight 1549 pushed back from the gate and began its taxi to runway 4 for a southern departure. The flight would be under the supervision of Captain Chesley Sully Sullenberger and First Officer Jeffrey Skiles, who would fly the takeoff and climb out in the Airbus A320. The duo had worked together on a flight from Charlotte to LaGuardia just 2 days prior. Sullenberger, a former fighter pilot who has been an airline pilot ever since leaving the United States Air Force in 1980, was skilled in most aspects of flight and highly trained. His first officer, Jeffrey Skiles, was not so experienced flying the Airbus A320, though, as this was only his third flight flying that aircraft. At 3:24 p.m., U.S. Airways Flight 1549 was cleared for takeoff on runway 4 by air traffic control at New York's LaGuardia International Airport.
Cactus 1549, LaGuardia runway 4, position, hold traffic to land 31.
Position over runway 4, Cactus 1549.
1549, runway 4, cliff takeoff.
Cactus 1549, clear.
100.
About 2 minutes after takeoff, Skiles noticed a very large flock of birds, which were approaching ahead very rapidly. At about 2,700 feet, both Skiles and Sullenberger heard a large pop and felt a great vibrations coming from the rear of the aircraft. The assumption was a bird strike to the high-powered turbofan engines. They were correct. Shortly thereafter, they realized they had lost thrust in both engines. Sullenberger took the controls as First Officer Skiles ran through the engine restart checklist. The captain now had to find a place to land, return back to LaGuardia, or maybe land at Teterboro across the Hudson River, New Jersey. He continued to fly the aircraft as Skiles now ran through the emergency checklist, with no luck in attempting to restart the engines. At 3:27 p.m., 3 minutes after takeoff, Captain Sullenberger in Flight 1549 radioed air traffic control at New York Terminal Radar Approach Control, also known as TRACON, saying,
This is Cactus 1539, hit birds through lost thrust of focus, returning back towards LaGuardia.
Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading of 220.
220.
After realizing that the fully loaded Airbus did not have enough thrust to turn around and make the runway, Sullenberger began to think of other options and asked New York Approach Controller Patrick Harden to land at Teterboro Airport, New Jersey.
Hi, Cactus 1549. It's going to be left traffic to runway 31.
Unable.
Okay, what do you need to land? Cactus 1549, runway 4 is available if you want to make left traffic to runway 4.
Idiot, I'm not sure we make any runway. What's over to our right? Anything in New Jersey, maybe Teterboro?
Okay, yeah, off your right side is Teterboro Airport. Do you want to try to go to Teterboro?
Yes.
Teterboro, Empire, actually LaGuardia departure guy, emergency inbound.
Hey, go ahead.
Cactus 1529 over the George Washington Bridge, wants to go to the airport right now.
Wants to go to our airport. Check. Does he need assistance?
Yes, it was a bird strike. Can I get him in for runway 1?
Runway 1, that's good.
Skiles and Sullenberger soon recognized that they would be unable to land at Teterboro, so they had to devise a plan, and soon, before the fully loaded Airbus came to a rest in a busy New York City suburb. At 3:29 p.m., Sullenberger radioed New York TRACON and told them that they would end up in the Hudson River.
Cactus 1529, turn right 280, you can land runway 1 at Teterboro.
We can't do it.
Okay, which runway would you like at Teterboro?
We're going to be in the Hudson.
I'm sorry, say again, Cactus?
At this point, controller Patrick Harden did not understand the transmission and made nothing of it until Flight 1549 dipped below 400 feet and disappeared from his radar screen.
Cactus 1549, radar contact is lost. You also got Newark Airport up at 2 o'clock in about 7 miles.
Once he dropped below 400 feet on the radar screen, the tower contacted New York Police Department and the New York Coast Guard to assure that they would be able to rescue any survivors if there happened to be any.
Get me a police department helicopter if you got one on your frequency.
Say again?
Get me a police department helicopter if you got one on your frequency right now.
We don't have one now. We'll make a call.
You get anybody, you send them right over to the Lincoln Tunnel. We had a Cactus Airbus go down in the water.
I got it. Okay.
Okay?
All the controllers were able to do at this point was hope and pray, as the situation was now out of their hands.
2 Tango Alpha, is he still flying?
Still flying.
Thank you.
Flying past him right now. Looks like he's setting lower.
2 Tango Alpha, roger.
Going down.
2 Tango Alpha, course roof.
2 Tango Alpha, roger.
Saturday's going down.
Roger.
In the water.
Roger. 2 Tango Alpha, I need you to,
Cactus Airbus.
I'm going to need you to stay with me if you can so we can keep an eye on where they are.
Roger, I got him in sight, right next to the USS Intrepid Mid-River.
Say it again?
Next to the USS Intrepid Mid-River.
Roger.
Alpha, I have him in sight. He's in the water. Yeah, he's beaming the U.S. Intrepid.
While learning to become a pilot, both Sullenberger and Skiles were taught to ditch in the water near other boats or vessels to make the deplaning process much easier and safer. They did exactly this. They ditched fairly close to several New York City ferries, which would allow for close rescue and easy access for first responders. Both pilots had very little time to react to a rare situation, but they acted professionally and chose the safest option. Luckily enough, aboard Flight 1549 there were only 5 injuries, all of which were completely recovered after a few days in the hospital. Many of the passengers had talked themselves through death, praying to their loved ones back home, and sending text messages to family members. Once they recognized that they were alive, a feeling of thankfulness and good fortune swept over them. All the passengers were thankful to have a second chance. Now it was time to help one another out of the plane into the frigid New York air outside the Airbus. Sullenberger and Skiles searched the aircraft for passengers who may have been injured. Since there were not many injuries aboard the crippled plane, it made the deplaning process that much easier. The well-known image of the passengers lining up on the wing waiting for first responders may never be forgotten. Usually when an airline has a flight which is involved in any type of major accident, they suspend that flight number from being used in the future. This was the case with this incident. U.S. Airways no longer uses 1549 to designate a flight. This leg is now listed as U.S. Airways Flight 1867. The quick actions of Captain Sullenberger and First Officer Skiles were not just able to save the lives of those aboard Flight 1549, but those who may have personally been impacted thereafter. What the two pilots accomplished was nothing short of miraculous. Thanks to the heroic thinking of the pilots, there were no fatalities aboard the aircraft, and the flight will forever be remembered as the Miracle on the Hudson.